evening from the kitchen, folks. I think it's time for another cooking film. So in this film today, I'm going to make my version of a beef stroganoff. And like I say, it's my version of a beef stroganoff. So let's have a look at those key ingredients. So I'm using British diced beef in my stroganoff, 430 grams. I've got 270 grams of mushrooms, 1 red onion, 1 white onion, and I'm using an entire garlic bulb because I love it really garlicky. Then I'm adding 3 tablespoons of mustard. I've got 2 jars there because that one's nearly out. I shall be adding some British single cream. I've got 300 ml of chicken stock. Now you should use beef stock really, but I had this ready made because I've boiled some chicken bones today, so I'm using that. A bit of salt, a few gravy granules, probably about 3 tablespoonfuls, and then I'm going to be putting a few extra herbs in, some dried chives, some dried basil and some dried thyme. I've also got some extra chicken stock down here because I'm going to serve my stroganoff with some pasta, and I'm going to cook the pasta in the chicken stock just to give it more flavour. So I'm going to begin by having a smashing time with my garlic. There you go. Smash it pointy end downwards and it breaks it apart. I'm just going to get all the dry stuff off. I'm just peeling each of the individual cloves because I don't like the dry stuff on the outside. So I want to finish up with lots of these. I'll come back to you when I've peeled them all. So there's all my garlic cloves in here. And this is what I call a Pampered Chef Whopper Chopper. I don't actually know what it's called, but it's from Pampered Chef and it's great. You just go like this. A bit of extreme violence for some great tastes. That should be a strapline for this, you know. Let's get all that off. And I'm left with plenty of beautiful minced garlic. That is going to go into my frying pan. Next, I'm going to top and tail and then dice my onions. I'm going to get the outer layer of skin off, which I don't want, but try and keep as much flesh as possible. So I'm just going to take my onion and I'm going to dice it into nice small pieces, just like so. I'll come back to you when I've done that. I'm also doing it for a red onion. Right, I'm going to put my onion into this frying pan with the garlic. I'm going to pour some oil into the pan. This is olive oil. It's had sun-dried tomatoes in it. It's good quality olive oil. Now you're meant to put butter in a stroganoff, and I didn't mention it in the ingredients because I wasn't going to bother. You're meant to put quite a bit in and I don't want to, so I'm just going to put a teaspoonful in, a heaped one. Just to acknowledge the fact that there's some butter in there. And then I'm going to put the gas on quite low, woof, turn it right down, and I'm going to leave that to start to come to a simmer and move it round. I want to do this nice and slowly. I'll come back to you shortly. Right, they're simmering away nicely, and I can tell you that smells absolutely flipping gorgeous. Right, while that's having a lovely simmer, I'm going to get my beef and my mushrooms sorted. First of all, I've got my mushrooms in the sieve with the hot tap on, shower head, and I'm just giving them a clean essentially, just make sure there's nothing on the outside of them that I don't want in there. And then I'm going to cut each mushroom down into regular sort of shaped pieces so you get the mushroom profile like so, and I'm going to do that with all of my mushrooms. So there's no point in you watching me do all that. I will come back to you very shortly. So that's my mushrooms chopped down. They're going to go in the pan shortly, but before they do, I'm going to add my mustard. So I'm going to scrape out everything that I can. I want to empty this jar. This is lovely mustard actually. It's Polish mustard, I think, this one. Right, I need to be able to get what's in there out, the stuff that's stuck around the edges, and I'm going to wash this out with the chicken stock that I cooked the pasta in. No flavours are wasted in this house. I'm going to open my other jar now. This smells like a stronger one actually. Let's put one of them. Oh, sorry, let's have another. I do like mustard. It's a classic flavour. So I'm just going to stir all that together. You should really put mustard seed in as well. That's good, but I don't have any. I don't need it. There's enough mustard there. Right, the mushrooms aren't going in just yet. I am going to sort out the beef first. So I'm just going to take each piece of beef that's here. I don't want them in these chunky sizes. What I want to do is to cut them down into smaller pieces like so, because stroganoff has kind of like strips of beef in it. So I'm going to cut them down like this, and when I've cut them all down, then it's going to go in with the mushroom, and I'll come back to you at that point. Right, I am now going to add my beef and my mushroom into the pan with the onions and garlic. And I'm going to use 2 wooden spatulas just to lift and raise so that the beef and the mushrooms get to touch the bottom of the pan also, and so it all gets a good coating in that mustard sauce. So I'm going to whack the heat up at this point now because it's been on very low, but now it's going to get a bit of a sizzle. And once it's sizzling nicely, I'll leave it for a little bit, and then it's going to be turned right down to simmer. So while that's coming to, I'm going to put some dried chives in, just a sprinkle in. There's probably a couple of teaspoons if that. I'm going to put the same amount of thyme in. Need a little time. Bad joke. And then the same with basil. Basil? Bad joke number 2. And then I'm just going to move it all around a little bit, like so, until I see the beef all brown. It won't be long because it cooks very quickly. Okay, the beef has browned nicely, so I've turned it down, and I'm going to add my chicken stock into there. This isn't all of it, incidentally, because rather than add this into the pasta, the mustard that was round there with the chicken stock, I've decided to put it in here instead. So the jar of mustard was empty, but I've added some chicken stock in there. I'm shaking it around to get all that flavour out because there's no point in wasting it. And that's going to go in there too. Put a bit of salt in. This is that fancy purple sea salt stuff. And I didn't mention it on my ingredients list, but I'm going to add a bit of black pepper in there too, because I think it goes nice with it. And I'm just going to give all this a good stir around. So I'm going to put a lid on this now, and I'm doing that so that the steam builds up in there, it will simmer and the beef will tenderise. Back in 10 minutes. Right, 10 minutes are up. Let's have a look. Steamy, that's good. Right, that comes off now. Right, I've got my British single cream here. Now, I'm meant to add 100ml. I haven't got a measuring jug clean, so I'm just going to guess this one. Essentially, I need to add 1/3 of what's in there. Let's get all this stuff off the top. Creamy goodness. Right, I'm just going to give it a little stir around. I'm going to pour it. Is that 1/3? Bit more. You can't have enough cream, can you? Shh. Health police, look away. Stroganoff's meant to be creamy. Right, that'll do. Stop it, Stuart. And I'm going to stir that around, and you can see it does look very stroganoffy. Right, now this goes on so the steam can escape, and it stays on a low heat, simmering away with the steam escaping so it reduces for the next 30 minutes. So I'll come back to you in 30 minutes time. Right, 30 minutes later, and that is not looking too bad, is it? So I'm going to add 1, 2 and 3 heaped dessert spoonfuls of gravy granules, beefy gravy granules. I'm going to stir them in. that's thickened up beautifully. And what I'm going to do now is completely turn the heat off. That's how it's looking. I'm going to put this lid back on, and I'm now going to leave this for 40 minutes. I just want it to sit and steep and them flavours to all mix together. And then I'll warm it up right at the end. And what I'm going to do while that's standing is get my pasta. And I'm using note it's gluten-free pasta because I'm doing a gluten-free challenge at the minute. Everything in there is gluten-free. Even the mustard, everything. This is the chicken stock that I've got left. That's going on top. That's going to be tasty. And I'll add a little bit more water. And this is going to go on that ring there on a very low heat. That's going on it so the steam can escape and it doesn't boil over. And I'm just going to leave this. Right, that's it. I'll see you in about 40 minutes. Right, it's 40 minutes later. Let's have a look. So I'm just going to take that off there. There's probably going to be some drips. Yeah. So it's quite nice actually. That's not too bad at all. I might want it to be a little bit more saucy. So look at the pasta. So the pasta has soaked up that chicken stock. Absolutely lovely. There's a bit left in there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit in there. No more. And I'm just going to do some circles. Yeah, that is quite stiff actually when you look further out. So I'll just do some circles with that. Right, I'm going to put the heat back on this. And it's 10 minutes later, and that's it. That's off, and that's off. It's time to dish up. Got the pasta first and the big slotted spoon, and that's really lovely how it's swollen so much. That's a nice base. And the liquid which is underneath the pasta, which is the chicken stock, which is now very starchy because of the pasta. I'm not throwing that away. That's going to go into something else tomorrow. No wastage here. Lovely. Steamy. So here's the stroganoff. And that don't look too bad, does it? Oh yeah, silky. That is lovely. That is really, really lovely. Right, time to dish up. And there we go. There is a bowl of gluten-free beef stroganoff on gluten-free pasta, and that looks pretty damn good to me. But as ever, the proof is in the tasting. Oh. I think I've unlocked a new favourite meal. That is absolutely delicious. I've had stroganoff before and I've enjoyed it. I've not made it very often. And honestly, it's probably been about 5 or 6 years since I've made one. And I'm so glad I did. It's creamy. The mustard's there, but it's not like punch in your face mustard. It's just a really creamy, beefy, slightly, very slightly acidicness to it from the mustard, but really slight, subtle. The herbs, the mushrooms, the onions, the garlic, and the garlic. It's good. Oh God, that's good garlic. I mean, I think it's safe to say that no vampires will be touching me tonight. This is comforting, it's warm, and it's delicious, and I'm very happy with it. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed the film. I'm going to enjoy this now. And I'll catch you on the next film, whatever that may be.